Itu kay kanino ka dyan, no? It's the neighbors. No, no, no.
Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to the Joy Show on the New Thought Media Network. I'm Barbara Jean, the host, and I'm so grateful that you're joining us today. Joy is an acronym for just one you. So this show celebrates the uniqueness, the journey, the possibilities of people's lives. So sit back and relax, and we will begin with our land acknowledgement. In the spirit of reconciliation and peace, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet on these sacred lands. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of these lands for thousands of years. We recognize our oneness. We realize our history. And we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech. Thank you. Well, my guest today is Rona Segarra. She is a minister at Unity of New Westminster, which is in British Columbia. And since her ordination in 2019, she is passionate about people and relationships. And her focus is to share practical, empowering ideas which will add to the joy and peace of our lives and to the lives of those around us. Rona's mission is to fill the world with love, one interaction at a time. Yay, Rona. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Barbara Jean.
I love that idea of, the loving interactions. I think that's just beautiful. I have a tattoo that says love is the answer.
Beautiful.
So tell me a little bit about what got you into ministry and how you got to where you are today.
Oh my goodness. It's a funny story in so many ways. Ever since I was a little girl, I was always intrigued by the Bible. I remember as a little girl, all the kids would be playing outside and I would be inside on my bed, cross-legged with this giant children's Bible on my lap, looking at all the pictures and absolutely intrigued with these stories. And my sister laughs because I used to volunteer to be the prisoner when they played, cops and robbers or something, so that I could read. So, I mean,
I love that.
I was, what they would call the nerd or the geek all my life.
Yeah.
And as I grew, there was always a part of me, like I would be the one who would go to prayer meetings that they would have at school when everyone else was at lunch. And I think back and go, what was it? What compelled me to do some of that? And I'm not sure if I knew the answer. But I remember really clearly one day sort of having this aha. Again, who does this? I was at night, I was reading Proverbs every night, the book of Proverbs. Who does that? Anyway, what I noticed is that life just was flowing really smoothly. And I couldn't have been older than 12 or 13 years old.
Wow.
But I sort of had this, I wonder if the two are related, even though all I was doing was reading for interest. I wasn't like praying or doing anything sort of intentionally. But there was a part of me that wondered if one had something to do with the other. And that was as far as it got.
Wow.
but I always sort of had this, I wonder, I'd love to, this is something that intrigues me so much. And I grew up in the Anglican Church and became very involved in the choir. And, I know all of those prayers that they say every week, that whole liturgy every week. And then there came a part where I was like, this is not this, the questioning came in, like,
Yes.
I know that I'm not perfect,
Shari.
but am I such a sinner? The whole idea of someone coming 2,000 years ago to die on the cross because I'm not to be born yet, but I'm already so bad that I need to be redeemed. Like that did not feel right.
Yeah.
It also felt kind of disrespectful to God.
Yes.
And so there was a part that at some point I turned away, and it came to a head one Sunday at church in Saskatoon, where the minister said that they were excited because the following week they were going to have a guest speaker, and this speaker had been healed of her illness and is no longer a lesbian.
Hay que cerrar bien la puerta.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I did. And so that was kind of like the door that shut for me. I was like, okay, this is not for me. And yet it never kind of went away. There was still sort of this tease of there's something here.
Yeah.
And it was many years later, after I'd moved to the Vancouver area, that I spoke to a friend who said, come try this Unity place. You might like it because it doesn't have that same philosophy, and it doesn't throw out the teachings of Jesus. I'm like, ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how I came to be part of Unity. And the ministry part came after my life kind of imploded from a career that I expected to become really. I expected to become the owner of the business I was the general manager at.
Yeah.
And everything was going really smoothly. And then, let's just say, situations happened. And as a result of that, my employment was terminated. And I was left absolutely devastated. And devastated. And there was this part of me that was like, okay, so when are you going to do it? If not now, then when?
If not now, when? I love that.
So that's kind of how it happened. So that's your very long answer to your question.
No, but it's really interesting to think about how, because I had a similar experience in a church in my 20s, where they're talking about, we're going to heaven, but everybody else is going to hell. And I thought, when I'd ask the pastor, I'd go, what about the rabbi? No, he's going to hell. Well, what about really good people that haven't heard of Jesus going to hell? And I'm like, this doesn't sound right. Babies born in sin didn't sound right. And I think I was only in that place about 1.5 years, and I left. And then I found CSL and Unity right around the same time. But it's interesting how the journey will take twists and turns where we start to see that this no longer fits. So what does? And good for you to find something that honored the passion you have for the teachings of Jesus, but at the same time, a philosophy that is inclusive and accepting and, really strong in what is offered. So good for you.
Yeah, it was quite an adventure. I'd encourage people not to wait until they get really horribly hurt before they follow what really is theirs, but sometimes that's what has to happen, I think. So
There's that story of, when you're on your knees, that's when the doors open up because your resistance has stopped.
yeah,
That point of surrender, right? Sort of opens doors that maybe you hadn't even thought, didn't even know were there. All of a sudden, there it is, and it's like a beaming light.
yes.
I love that.
And for me, it was one day in the future, one day in the future, one day in the future. And it was like,
Yeah.
tick tock.
TikTok. Well, and it is an interesting journey because ministry is not a job. And I think, that might be hard for some people to wrap their head around. It really is a life. So it's more a calling that, it's just different than other work.
It is different than other work. The official role of ministry, the official role of being a minister is very different work. What's interesting for me, though, is I think all of us have a ministry. Oh, I see you've got young, hip, and married. Yeah, this is one of the benefits of being a minister is I get to be part of people's most loving days and exciting days, and what a privilege that is in my life.
Yeah. I find my greatest joy, well, not joy so much, but my greatest honor is doing memorial services, celebrations of life. That's my favorite ceremony to do. I do lots of weddings too, but I really appreciate when somebody asks me to speak over the life of a family member. That feels like a real honor and privilege. And yeah, so that's actually the one that touches my heart the most. And then being able to walk with people through their life journeys also is, and I love marrying people in my congregation. It's when I get people on the outside that are going, yeah, make it fast.
Yeah, we get that. It happens often where it's like, we don't want it to be too long. We do want part of our story to be told. It's finding that comfort. And so many people aren't really all that comfortable even standing up in front of family and friends to be the headliner or the spotlight like that. So
it's true. Yeah, it's fun though. It is fun. So tell me a little bit about your ministry. You're in British Columbia. You're in New Westminster. I had family who lived there for many, many years. They're now, I think, in Langley and some in North Van. But tell me a little bit about your ministry and what it's like to be in that position now.
Oh, it's such a fun little community. As you can tell, it's a little, I think of it as the little white church on the corner. And it is a lovely little space that has been part of Unity of New Westminster. Was previously called Unity in Action, and it's been around for over 50 years. Okay. And this space is a space that used to be a Baptist church before. Wow. It was bought by Unity. And it's lovely because it's such a privilege to actually have a space we can work from, and a place where the community can gather, and a place where other community groups gather as well. And we have a community of people who are new people coming, people moving as they're moving from quite a few of our elderly people, for some reason, are moving out of town to be closer to where their family are, and so on. And so that's been kind of a sad thing for me to see, is people wanting well, wanting to be close to the family is a good thing.
Yeah.
Leaving our little community as a result is
Yeah.
a part that's sad. But what's true is that we're getting some newer people in.
Yeah.
And those people are energizing in a different way and interested in a different way. And we do a lot of fun things. So we make sure that, once a month, the last Sunday of the month is birthday Sunday, and we celebrate birthdays, and we do potluck, and then we have people who stay for an art class and for karaoke. We do karaoke. And then we just recently, and then we have a prayer service on prayer and meditation on Monday mornings. And then we just recently started a youth group on Wednesday evenings. And that's been really fun because we are that small and mighty group at the moment where we've done tie-dye, and we draw cards that have like conversation starters on them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And from that, we just see where the evening goes in terms of what we talk about. And then we always like have an activity. We play games, we laugh, we eat way too many snacks, mostly junk food, but always some healthy stuff. And it's totally fun. And then our services themselves, our programs themselves, are a mix of like what you might say traditional church, like stories about from the parables, for example. But also I find it interesting to me, so I hope it's interesting to others. Things like doing a series on the Beatles, or doing things like a really important Remembrance Day service, or as we're doing this Sunday, the gifts that we can learn from how the Grinch stole Christmas. And last year I did one on I did one on the sound of music, and how everything you need to learn about life is in the sound of music, but the songs and the sound of music. But also, what did I do? The Christmas Carol. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fun.
I want it to be interesting and not the same every week. And
I like that.
Wisdom comes from everywhere. And
absolutely it does. Absolutely. We did a service a while back where we had different people playing the parts in The Little Soul in the Sun. And that was really, we had God, and we had the little soul and the friendly soul, and the whole conversation. It was, Deja was a part of it as well. This was going back a couple of years, but it was really fun. And another time I did an interview type thing, and my husband is an actor, so he played 3 different characters and came out, and I interviewed him, and that was a really fun service.
Oh my gosh. Well, a couple that are coming up for us now. We're doing one which is a new no rehearsal Christmas pageant, which is an absolute hoot. It's I found the script on the and adapted it from the Unitarian Universalist movement in the States, and it's so funny, and it's become something that I tried 2 years ago. Then it's now like considered a tradition that needs to continue.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's really fun.
That's what's fun when you can meet in person. We don't have that ability here yet. I'm
I'm
hoping by March we can be back in person. We've tried it a couple times, but people just don't come. We get them online, but we don't get them in person. And trying to, gather people again. Because I think we've been apart for so long, we've forgotten that we need that connection.
It's so important. And in many ways, I think the pandemic
Applegate, ¿no?
the pandemic helped to accelerate the
Cristina?
demise of many spiritual communities, church communities and stuff, because it forced that separation.
53.
And then
Es como
now
Ulis.
that you don't
Pero ese año, quién
have
sabe cuál.
the limitation anymore, it's still hard to kind of get over the hump. And in some cases, the buildings and so on are no longer available. And so that's why I say I consider it so, like,
que
we are
subió
so
20
fortunate
kilos,
because
que tiene
we have a
esclerosis
building,
múltiple,
we are in a growing mode, which is
las
something which
medicinas.
in itself is a minor miracle in these days.
Yeah, it really is.
And
Y que le
and
costó mucho firmar
I don't envy the
porque no se
place that
podía
you are
mover.
in,
Tenía que
because to
usaba
try
bastón.
and build community without a place to build
Pobre, no
it
sabía que estaba
is
enferma.
not that easy.
It
Con
really
razón se ve
isn't.
tan
And
mal.
I
Pues
mean,
qué gran
that's the
esfuerzo
reality
hizo.
at the moment. And, you know, I'm hoping by, you know, March or the beginning of April that we can be back in person and to get people to actually come out, to be there. So we'll be doing a big push to, you know, let people know we're going to be back in person and here's the date, and, you know, begin to set
Ya
it
te
up. But,
cambiamos el parche.
you know, we've got a space that's beautiful. You know, it's set up every Sunday. You can't, we can't use it all the
Pasamos
time, but
alcohol.
we can use it on Sunday. And it's just getting people back in the
Qué
habit of
pena.
meeting in person. It's fun to get up and, you know, like, don't even worry about having a shower, comb your hair and throw on a t-shirt, and, you know, nobody's going to see anything but this. So
Allá
you
por
could
fin
be in your
saben que
pajamas and you would know. So I think there's some of that too, that people are going, oh, I don't want to travel. And that's why I thought it would be better to, at the end of winter, to sit back and go back in person, because people are now ready to leave their homes, hopefully, because it's a little bit warmer.
That's a great idea.
That's my
Great.
hope.
Yeah.
It's an interesting journey. Have you noticed, I mean, not in your center, but in your city, the more aggressive behavior from people, especially driving? Have you noticed that at all?
I have. Driving, I think that there's just something in the field. I don't quite know how to describe it, but that there's this nervousness, perhaps. And even though we're not the United States, it felt to me like there was, and this is unscientific, but that there was a sort of more nervousness in the field. People were a little bit more tense and so on. Although maybe it was just that I was looking for that. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I also I see it, and I also see the opposite. I do see that people are very much more, maybe more. Maybe it's because they're seeing it too. They're taking a stand and deliberately, it seems to me, trying to be nicer to each other. And maybe that's part of the spirit of the season now. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be. I know the last 2 years at Halloween, the children coming to the door have been really sweet and kind and very respectful. And my husband will hold the bowl out and say, take a couple, and they'll take one. If they want to, it's like, you know, that, can I take one for my sister who couldn't, you know, things like that, like real generosity of spirit, which I've really enjoyed seeing. And I've seen that more as well. It's like, you know, we've got kind of two groups of people, some that are really anxious and upset, and then others that are maybe trying to make up for it with being extra kind and caring and whatever. So it's a really interesting time that we're in. And
it is.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. That there's these two different groups. I think that's exactly. I see exactly the same thing here, and that reminded me. Yeah, we had a Halloween party. Of course, we dressed up for Halloween.
Of course.
So, and you know what? One of the things that we just did recently was we had a baby blessing, and we haven't had that
Oh, they're beautiful.
in our church community for many. Like I've never performed a baby blessing at the church before, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. That's the thing about doing this type of work is that's a great.
That was, Halloween.
That's wonderful.
Thanks, Lisa.
I dressed up once for Halloween, and the flack I got from the congregation. It was really, certain people in the congregation anyway, were like, that's so inappropriate. And I'm like, well, that's your story. I have fun. And, if we can't have fun and play and laugh at life and begin to sort of reduce some of the anxiety and tension that people are feeling, I think a bit of humor always sort of bursts that bubble, and then you can take a breath again. So I think it's really wonderful to do things that are fun and interesting, and we're able to weave in our message at the same time, which is really, really fantastic. Now, we're at the halfway point, so we're going to take a quick little commercial break, and then we're going to be right back because I have a few more questions for you before we're done. For those of you watching, don't go away. We will be right back.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Home Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Necesita dinero. Ahorita ya le puso gasolina y le checó las llantas. Ah, qué bueno. Pero necesita para la bebida. ¿Cuánto te vamos a pedir? Serán por 3,000, por cualquier cosa de las casetas. Ya, lo demás fue nada. Dice que si come en una tiendita. Sí, no, gracias.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Sí hay.
Welcome back to the Joy Show here on the New Thought Media Network, and my wonderful guest, Reverend Rona Sagara. So, Rona, what about some of the things you're reading now, or some of the things you're doing that are inspiring you as you continue to do this work?
Oh, what a lovely question. Right now, I have been very intrigued with the idea of the book called No Bad Parts. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
And it ties into metaphysical interpretation in so many ways. Basically, what this book is suggesting is that there are parts of us that are within us. And you think of the old language, we would have said, the ego is that bad part of us. And it's, it really should stand for ease God out. And like all of this really horrible stuff about this ego.
It's so true.
And so what this book is suggesting is that, there are multiple parts of us, within us, that sometimes do things that we don't understand, and sometimes that we don't appreciate about ourselves, and about our bad habits, for example, that we would say was a bad habit. And to recognize that it's perhaps a part of ourselves that is serving to protect us in some way, and to, instead of ease God out, instead of somehow deny it or repress it or suppress it, to sort of make friends with it and kind of get to know it a little bit more and understand what makes it tick and why it's doing some of the things that it does, and to see that in its own and sometimes not very effective way, it may have been very effective when we were younger, and to therefore embrace every part of ourselves, even the parts of ourselves that we may not always appreciate. And I find that idea of integrating the different parts of our own interior puzzle, and embracing it as one whole is very powerful for me, to notice that the old thing with the picture of the angel on one side and the devil on the other, and to kind of recognize that we have both, and a whole spectrum of other characters as well. And I really enjoyed that, the idea that there's space for all of it.
Absolutely, there is. Yes.
And I think the more that I work on that for me, the more I can appreciate that I'm seeing those same characters played out in the people around me at times. Sometimes I appreciate it, and sometimes I don't with them too.
Exactly. Well, and I think some of those parts too, the reason we think they're bad is because maybe as little children we were told, oh, that's wrong, you can't do that, that's bad. We've gotten a little smack for it or something, and so we've named it bad. And I think about the yin-yang symbol, the darkness and the light as one. And I think it's really, to become a whole being, we have to accept all of our parts and realize all of them are serving purpose. So I love that.
Yeah, that's been really a big part for me. And then the other part that's big, if I have time, is I am really paying attention to loneliness and the awareness of what does it mean and what are the implications of it. And, I don't know if I told you, but I'm going to be a speaker at TedX in Surrey.
La vida te da sorpresas,
And thank you. And it's about the idea of religious traditions and loneliness, and people who have so often, I hear people say things like, I don't go to the church anymore, but I really miss the feeling of belonging.
Yes.
And so my suggestion and the whole purpose of my talk is let's borrow those traditions, the practices that build community that were in the religious traditions, and apply them in a non-religious society. And so that's basically what I'll be talking about. So
I can't wait to hear it. That is fantastic news for you. Good for you. Yeah, I think when I look at some of the ways that, and again, it comes back to COVID being really sort of the impetus for a really huge shift in how we, and it was worldwide, so it's not like it's just here. It seems to be everywhere, that there's been such separation that bridging that gap and coming back together has been a lot harder than we would have expected it to be. And I think that, when I look at that, for me anyway, I think I yearn for connection. And I can't imagine living alone at this time. I've got my husband, I've got my daughter in my house. So I feel like I have more than some people have. And fortunately, we have good relationships, so that helps. Sometimes there's family around, and it's not that bad. But I think connection is really a really big one. And I love some of the stuff you're doing in your center, because you're really creating joy and taking secular things and giving them that spiritual twist. And I think that really helps people to kind of go, I can do this. Like, I can come here. I don't feel like it goes against what I believe. It's easy to believe it and to experience it and to enjoy it.
Well, yes. And, it used to be, and I'm sure it still is in some cultures, that it's either fun or it's holy. And
I think having fun is holy.
I completely agree. My dad used to say life is too short to be taken seriously. And that idea, like the idea of uplifting people, can only be holy.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I find it sad that there are people who would prefer not to see joy in that way. Like it has to be under a sacred umbrella of some kind. Well, joy is sacred, and however it looks, whether it's in a church or if it's at a gathering in someone's home having fun, it's all the same thing. It's joy.
It's joy. I love that. Well, of course, the name of the show is Joy. So joy is definitely on my heart all the time. Have you read the book, The Wisdom Jesus?
Is that the one? No, I'm thinking of the third Jesus. That was Deepak Chopra.
This was written by, I believe, an Episcopalian priest.
Is that Richard Rohr?
No, her name. What is her name? I can't read it from here. It's on the shelf there. I can't remember her name offhand, but the book is really, really powerful, focused on Jesus and the teachings of Jesus and stuff. But one of the things she said in the front of the book, which sort of speaks to what we're talking about now, she shared a quote from a Brit, and I can't remember his name right now, and he said, Christianity has not failed. It just hasn't been tried yet.
Oh, I love that. There's Cynthia Burgos.
Deja, what's the name? I can't read it on there. Chirp in.
I will find that book. That sounds interesting.
It's one of the best books I've read in a long time. I've mentioned it to a lot of people because it really it allowed me, like somebody who doesn't really teach from the Bible, I've done lots of Bible training and stuff, but I don't use it very often. My community prefers not to have that. But reading that book allowed me to see what I found missing in the Nazarene church that I was in. I found pieces that,
Mi amor,
thank you,
dice mami que si
yeah,
necesitas cash.
thank you, Deja. And finding that really really helped me to look at ways that I can use this in what I do without actually,
Son como,
attributing it to the Bible.
son
And
como 1000
I
de
think
casita.
there's something, I mean, CSL is a little different than Unity in that way, but I'm both Unity and CSL, so I use both. But it's interesting to see somebody who is very traditional in a traditional religion to speak about it in such a great way. And as a woman, I think she was like in the second class of women who were allowed to be ordained as ministers.
Oye,
So she's on
hay
the
que
leading edge
ponerle crédito a
already.
tu teléfono.
And but her writing is good. The book is
Pues es
brilliant.
que tiene que ser con tu
Well worth
teléfono
the
por
read.
medio del
Well worth the
banco.
read.
Thank you. I will hunt that down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's, it's fun to try different things. I'm reading a book right now, Greater Than the Sum of Our Parts.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, it's similar to No Bad Parts because it's teaching the same thing, probably in a little different way. And also Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Yeah. Just loving what is, that's huge.
Yo tengo,
the thing that I
como
appreciate
500 en
about
el
that book,
cierre. De otros 3000 que me dio mi mamá,
about
¿te
Byron
acuerdas? Me
Katie's work
quedan en
is,
donde ponemos la cartera.
I think she said the quote is something like, when you're arguing against reality, you are suffering. It was something like
Ya,
that.
mami,
Yeah.
le debo
And
3 por los que nos dio aquí.
that I hear that quote, or I internalized some of that somehow.
Voy a decir todo lo que
Often,
tengo.
because how often our
¿Necesitas
misery
monedas también?
comes about stuff we can do nothing about.
Yes.
Mira, aquí tengo.
You're arguing against reality. And then her idea of
Tengo
four questions: is
580.
it true? Can you know
Tengo
it's true?
580
How
de
would
los
you be
3000
if
que me diste.
you
Y
didn't believe
monedas.
it, or if you could make room for it not to be true?
No, pero para las
And
casetas, las
I can't
monedas las
remember the fourth one, or
necesitas.
maybe missing one in there. And then her turnarounds,
Turnarounds are great.
and at first, when I first heard turnarounds, the idea of, he's acting like a jerk, to turn that around to he's not acting like a jerk, or I'm acting like a jerk. You don't even want to know how resistant I was to some of that.
Tengo aquí 80. No sé si mi papá contó estas
the
monedas.
idea of, when have I ever been a jerk before, or have I ever
Tengo
been a
aquí
jerk
100.
before? Can you make allowance for somebody else being a jerk or behaving like a jerk?
Yeah.
Sí, pero
It just
estas
kind of,
porque
it's just another
necesitas
one
cambio en
of
las
the characters
casetas.
that we play.
Yeah, because
Por eso te estoy dando el cambio.
we're spiritual beings and we're trying to figure out how to do this human thing, which is really tough.
And all of it is divine. All of it is
Good. All of it's divine. All of it's taking us somewhere. We can look at our past and go, I made this mistake.
Aquí
or
lleva
that mistake, or-
123.
But if we look at ourselves today, it was all of it
123.
that brought us to this point of awareness, this point in our life journey. So it's all of it has served something beautiful, even if it is
Necesito que le
painful.
pongas.
Because sometimes we need that cosmic sledgehammer to move us.
Te vas a llevar la tarjeta.
That's what I call it when I get like everything kind of falls on me at once. I'm like, oh,
that's funny.
No, a ver,
like okay, now what? Let me do a little surrender work here, which is really powerful too. Yeah. I like the joy in you. It's just like this effervescence that you can feel it right through the screen, which is quite beautiful. It's not something you get from everybody, but you have that effervescence.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
How do you?
How do you keep that alive? Like, what is your self-care like?
My day is not complete unless I go for a walk.
Yes.
So that's sort of the thing that sets my day up. And it doesn't have to be first thing in the morning, but more often than not, it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I really know how to answer that other than maybe I'm fortunate because part of it is just that's who I am. I love to create. I love to contemplate. I love to chit chat. Like, to me, this wakes me up. And so and I love to be around people. If there's one thing that would be self-care is, yes, I like my alone time, but I love to be with my family, with my husband. This morning I went for a walk with my sister. I love to be out near the ocean. Those are the things that self-care includes a great deal of appreciation for nature.
Oh, yes, yes. I think there's something about being in nature that just soothes the soul automatically.
Yes. And apparently it's been proven that if you walk in the woods, that the oxygen is richer or something there. And apparently it has a proven calming effect. So
yeah. In Japan, they do a thing. What is it called? Where they spend time in the forest.
Something bath? Is it a something?
Yes, a forest bath.
Yeah,
what they call it. And it's just going there and spending time. And it makes sense because, of course, trees are taking the carbon monoxide or the carbon dioxide out of the air, carbon dioxide, and infusing the oxygen into it. So it makes sense that when we're in a forest, we're getting that. But there's the life of trees that I think has a greater depth to it than we fully understand. And getting out in nature, I know here I live pretty close to an area right beside the lake, and there's lots of trees and places you can walk. And so you've got the lake right there, which looks like an ocean. It's the smallest of the Great Lakes, but you can't see across it, and it's beautiful. But getting the time with the water, with the trees, and just watching the swans and the geese and whatever, it's like there's something satisfying, deeply satisfying about that.
Yeah, I think what it does is remind us that we're part of something that's that it's not all about us.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I think that has a big reminder for us that we're part of nature. And I guess going back to your very first question, that's what used to bug me so much about this "you are a sinner" thing, is like, just a second, like, look at all the beauty around us that we say is, glory to God. And then you look at us humans and somehow we aren't. Like, no, there's nothing.
And at the same time, they'll say we're created in the image and likeness.
Yeah, and I have a feeling it's the other way around. I think that man created God in man's image.
Oh, of course, that's where but if we recognize that it means our oneness with everything, that all of a sudden feels like, yes, I'm one with it all. I'm a little speck of light in this incredible mosaic or whatever that needs to be there. It's an important piece. And as we begin to see our value and the role we play in the unfolding of this, it can be beautiful, or we can resist it and then it becomes painful. So I think it's so important to recognize that we really are just a part of something massive. And it's lovely. It's exciting.
Lovely, isn't it? It's exactly it. It's like being a part of something magnificent and being conscious enough of it to recognize how lovely it is. And
Yeah, absolutely. I know in the house that we're living in now, our back deck is huge and we've got these giant trees all around. Well, right now they've lost their leaves, but when they're all in leaf, it's like we have our own little sanctuary. And so we bought, the furniture to fill it out so we can spend time out there, and lights to keep it nice. And it's like this little oasis right in the middle of a very big city. And
amazing.
it's beautiful. And then we're close to the lake. It doesn't take 10 minutes to zip down to the lake. And I think when we spend time in nature, we have a big dog, so we're, taking her out. And even animals, our pets. We have a dog and 2 cats, and the dog is 8 months old, and a husky shepherd cross, so very big dog. And she's just love, period. There's nothing else. She wants to just lick your face. I never need makeup remover. I got a tongue. Just washes my face regularly. You'll walk out the door, to take the garbage out, and you come back and she's like, "You're back. Oh my gosh, you've been gone so long." It's just I never was a dog person before, and our last dog just switched that around for me. And then getting this puppy was just the most beautiful gift that I could have been given. She just, all she wants to do is lay on her back and have her belly rubbed. And there's something about connecting with her and her energy that just makes you smile. Or we have a little cat that plays fetch with hair ties.
Really?
We'll throw the hair tie and she runs after it, or she'll catch it midair and bring it back. I've never seen a cat do that. And
that's funny.
The joy of animals and, the way they can connect with us, nature connecting with us, and then connecting with each other.
Yeah.
And being willing to say, "I love you. I appreciate you." To hug somebody and really hug them, be able to hold someone. I met with a member of my congregation this morning, and somebody who's had a rough time. And so when I give him a hug, it's like this really great hug. And, we both need that. It's like all of us need that connection. And finding ways to make it happen is so valuable. So I love what you're doing. And the pictures she showed of your sanctuary, the blue chairs, I love that. It's beautiful.
Oh, come on out.
Happily.
It would be so great.
Yeah.
There's something about hugs, by the way, that, it's another one of those, the youth of unity. When I went to one of their camps, they have a thing where I think they hug with 3 breaths, and it's heart to heart. So instead of like face on, it's more like off to the side, but heart to heart. And then they take 3 breaths. And it's interesting because we don't hug for long enough.
Oh, yes.
It's like by the 3rd time, you're really kind of
melted into
it. Exactly. So
yeah, I love that. That's the kind of hugs that I give, are the ones I didn't think of
it one day.
I want to hold on I want the person I'm hugging to know that they have my full attention.
That is the gift of it. It's presence.
Absolutely. And so it's incredible to, be able to be that close. And Karen Drucker does a song I stand before you. And I did this in an opening ceremony of a new building. I stand before you knowing we are one. I can't remember all the lyrics, but it's like you really stand right in front of someone and you sing to them, eye to eye, and you're singing to each other and sending this message of love. And it's so powerful. And I remember one woman that I was standing in front of, and she had tears just pouring down her face, because that type of connection was maybe deeper or more intimate than what she was accustomed to, but she received it with such love. I stand before you knowing we are one. You are the mirror of my soul.
Oh, wow.
I stand before you honoring the part of you that is whole. Yeah, it's like doing that. And with some people, I held their hands. With others, it was obvious they didn't really want that connection, but they received it. And I think there's something about that creates intimacy that can be hugely powerful and transformative for people, because we don't get that very often.
Well, it's so affirming of who people are, and that they're okay right where they are. And again, there's that loneliness piece. It's a way of saying, you belong here.
Yes.
And it can be a very powerful message for people.
Yeah, it truly is.
Yeah.
Now, believe it or not, we have under 4 minutes left. Time flies. What is one thing that you would like to leave our viewing audience with? What do you think the most important thing is?
I think the most important thing that I would want people to know is that you belong here. That whether you find it comfortable to leave your home and gather with people, or whether you prefer to stay at home, or whether you're unable to, whether it's a will or a skill thing, to meet in person, know you belong wherever you are. That you are perfect just the way you are, with all of the parts that you may consider are less than perfect. They are also part of creation, and everything about you is part of creation. And so just as you look at a beautiful flower and you think that is perfect, look at yourself in the mirror and see that flower.
And see that same perfection.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. I often get my students to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I really love you. And some people have had a lot of difficulty doing that, to look themselves in the eye. I've stood with people in front of the mirror where they've had tears running down their face going, I can't do it. And just starting that process of, embracing themselves and being able to see their perfection in the midst of the human frailties that we see, or whatever, that those truly don't define us, that we are actually perfect, whole, and complete, just the way we've been created, even with all those little, whatever. We're human. We've done stuff wrong at times. We've made mistakes at times, but I think the biggest lesson is that you are loved. The universe is a loving, dynamic energy that is always going to have your back. And
loved, and you are love. You are the power of
love. Yes. Oh, you are a delight. This has been so much fun, Rona. I thank
you, Barbara Jean. What a pleasure. And how can an hour go by in an instant like that.
I know. Somebody once said, "You sure you don't want to do a half-hour show?" I said, "Are you kidding?" Thank you so much for being here. It's been a true joy. I can't wait to hear your TEDx talk. And for those of you watching, you can go to Unity New Westminster and find out more about Rona. And in the meantime, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you feel up to it, send a little donation to the New Thought Media Network. Finish off your year on a good note and keep this programming alive and well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rona. Thank you, Deja. Mwah. Love and blessings to all.
And to you. Thanks, Barbara Jean.
Thank you.